We should be going live any second if we aren't already, because this is a really professional show. So let's see. Okay.
Yeah. We get what you pay for in production.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
looks like
that's you standing, and that's a picture of.
Okay. All right.
Kind of moving around. We'll figure it out.
Okay. So just a second.
We'll get there.
And where is my Zoom? Hello, Zoom. Where did you go? There you are, Zoom.
Here you are.
There's my Zoom window.
Okay.
So, hey guys, it's Dave and Sarah with Bells Up Winery. If you missed us last week, we missed you too. If you didn't, well, you're probably because nobody watches this, so it's okay.
At least not in real time. I mean, y'all, let's face it, everybody's got more important things to do than listening to a couple of winos babble on for a while.
Watching us drink. So anyway, last weekend was a little crazy. It was Memorial Day weekend. We were allowed to be open for private appointments, and I made Dave, I forced him. I was very mean, and I made him do 5 appointments a day on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Which we will never do again.
But we're still married. So unfortunately, just last weekend got away from us, so we weren't able to put this together. But we are here now. We are back, and it has been a crazy few weeks, and we kind of wanted to bring you guys up to speed. We were name checked on the Tony Kornheiser Show, which, if you guys don't know the Tony Kornheiser Show, it is something that Dave has been watching for a long time. And although
now it's in podcast form, so it's not something you can watch. It started as a radio show, and then became later on a podcast. And so we actually did not start this process. No. Our guest today started this process, and that is Duska Jensen, who is the senior ambassador at Willamette Valley Vineyards. And Duska, tell us a little bit about sort of, because you started this indirectly. You started the conversation that we had with Mr. Tony. So kind of tell us a little bit about what drove the original email that you sent, and then I will discuss why I sent what I sent.
Okay. Oh, I can't get enough of this Pinot Noir that you were so generous to share with me. So initially I had actually heard his podcast. I have a friend who is a very loyal listener, and I had been listening upon occasion, to be quite honest. I've been very honest with the Tony Kornheiser show there that I'm now a loyal listener, but there was some mention in an email about someone planning a trip to Oregon to go to Bandon Dunes golf course. And there was also mention of some wineries and restaurants, and they kind of needed to figure out where to stop. So I actually have a group that comes out to visit with not just me, but they've been going to Bandon Dunes for nearly a decade now. And they've been stopping at Willamette Valley Vineyards for 7-8 years. Well, over the last 6 years, I've been taking wine to Bandon Dunes and hosting a wine dinner for them. So just that clicked it for me, and it inspired me to say, hey, hold on, so I felt like I had a little bit of he didn't read it all my entire email I sent. I'm not. And I explained, like my group that comes out and they love stopping by and what have you. So that was the initial inspiration. I mean, Oregon has so many beautiful wineries, and we are so blessed, to be in this industry, still a young, vibrant industry. And I just wanted to let him know that I would love to be one of the stops on his way. And then, of course, make other recommendations like I do for other guests that come out and visit Oregon to experience Oregon wines. Although I know they come to see me. I know they want to go. I know they want to experience, the wine industry as a whole. And that's one thing that I think has continued me to work in the industry for so long. What made me fall in love with it is the collaboration amongst the Oregon wine industry, and really, our historical stories about all of the different, beginning winemakers, the pioneers getting together and really collaborating and helping one another. So that was my inspiration initially, was here in Bandon Dunes. We need to find some place to stop for wine, where to go. And I wrote the email out.
That's great. So then we'll pick up. So that email was read, and I don't remember the exact date, but it would have been roughly the first week of May. When
I think it was, I believe I wrote to him on the 1st of May. I think it was.
That's probably right. And he's been recording Mondays and Wednesdays during the week. So, obviously I don't have the calendar in front of me, so I'd have to go back and look to see it. But I heard on whatever date it was that he read your email. And the first thing that ran into my mind was, hey, wait a minute. We got to have the small wineries represented too. Somebody's got to stick up for the little guy. And for those of you littles that are watching, and by the way, littles, that refers to all of us fans of Mr. Tony, of which there are millions all over the country. And I have gotten to talk to a lot of them. We've got some really wonderful people out there. So thank you all for tuning in. Okay. So I've been listening to Tony's show for a long time, back when it was a radio show, a local radio show, as he always says. It was carried on ESPN radio for a long time. And then roughly in the early aughts, they started streaming it live. And back in my previous career, when I was an attorney, I would listen to the show. And as I've talked to so many fans across the country, there is something about his ability to be engaging and to tell stories. He says, and of course, as we say, it's tangentially related to sports, but it's not really sports. But it's been enjoyable to listen to. And so for me, this was kind of I'm sorry, Sarah's. Okay. So sorry. I've been listening as he's gone through various different platforms. I mean, at this point, like I say, I believe he wanted to more own the content, which is why he started doing essentially the same show in podcast form. He's had the same cast of characters that have been with him for a long time. And I really thought, it would be just kind of nice as a way to say thank you to Mr. Tony for all the years of entertainment that he's given me. And just all the laughs to be able to, hey, I'd love to send in some wine. So I sent a follow-up email to Duska, and I kind of gave our 30-second elevator speech about who we were and what we do. We're a tiny little winery. It's all about heart and soul, and, we do it ourselves. We don't have employees, and, hey, we'd love to see you too if you're ever able to make it out here. And I honestly thought when that got read that the best I could hope for was maybe I would get a quick thank you and thanks for listening and all that. And then on May 11th, it comes out, he reads the email in its entirety. And now, just to kind of give everybody a sense, that podcast drops at roughly 7 o'clock out here on the West Coast. So I'm in the shower and I'm getting ready to walk my daughter through her distance learning program for the day. And I hear this go on. And I almost fell over. And in the meantime, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And it's just, so Sarah, of course, who I really want to tell, has managed to get one of the first dental appointments that day. So she's not even there. Who am I gonna share this with? So anyway, this goes on. I tell Sarah when she comes home, and I said, just kind of keep an eye on what the website traffic looks like. And well, and then I had to explain why. Well, so that was fun. And I really thought, okay, that was cool and that would be it. And then a couple hours later, the emails started coming in, and including from some very well-known people, which just blew me away. And I mean, this was great. And it just kind of started out this way. And so I sent Mr. Tony a very nice follow-up email, just said, hey, thank you so much for reading my email. I really appreciate it. We've had people reaching out. I really didn't expect that to be read. And then he read that one. Yep. And then more people called and more people emailed. And it has not stopped to the point where we've now had some of our Littles customers who were kind enough to then, after talking to us, reach back out to Tony and said what a great experience it was, which I want to just go on record. I did not ask anybody to do that. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. But in case Mr. Tony feels like he's tired of talking about us, I just want to say it is not all my fault. But it has been amazing, and they're still coming in. I was kind enough to talk. It was kind enough to be able to talk to Gary Braun, who's been a long time contributor to the show, one of the nicest people I've ever met. And on the latest podcast, Gary called Tony and waxed poetic about our discussion for a while, and I cannot thank him enough. He's an amazing guy. It's just been insane. And for all the littles out there who are just being able to tune into us, thank you so much for all that you've done for us.
But we're excited because we get to unveil Madam Ambassador here,
exactly.
which is what Tony has been talking about. And what we do on this show is we love to introduce people that we've met through the industry and through the world of wine who are just amazing and cool. And one of those emails we got that first week was from none other than Duska.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, hey guys, let's get together. And so she came and visited us, which was amazing. And she was so much fun. And we had a blast, and we kept her here talking way later than we probably should have. And so she agreed to do this show with us. And so what I want to know is, I know you've been at Willamette Valley Vineyards for a long time, over a decade, right?
Yeah, I'm on my 11th year now. Yeah, it's been a blast. I mean, the industry in Oregon itself has grown tremendously in the last decade. Willamette Valley Vineyards has grown tremendously in the last decade. And I know, we are a bigger winery. When it comes to Oregon, and I think it's important to remember that Oregon itself is such a small industry. We only distribute about 1% of the wine, shared with the US. So although Willamette Valley Vineyards is much larger in production, we have those wines that we produce in larger lump sum so that we can afford to create our passion, those single vineyard designate Pinot Noirs that you do so beautifully. And so, yeah, it's been a journey. I got into the industry by accident, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, I am very young. I just celebrated my birthday. Actually, the Tony, or his son technically, since that's where we ship the wine, received my care package on my birthday.
Oh, that's
sweet.
Awesome.
It's kind of nice. But anyhow, I was 24, 25 when I started in the industry, and, I hadn't really decided what I wanted to do career-wise. And, within 2 or 3 years, I knew that this was going to be it for me, and that I was going to be sticking around. So I was very fortunate to have a gal that I hold very near and dear to my heart to this day. And I say that it like that because she unfortunately passed away about a year after me starting at Willamette Valley Vineyards. But she was in my youth a mentor to me. And really, as I became older, she became a best friend, and she shared wines with me. She had been with Willamette Valley Vineyards for 10, 11 years before her accident happened. And she's actually the one that recruited me out to the winery. So I do believe that things happen for a reason. And I feel very blessed in it. I'm a native Oregonian. I've been here my whole life. And even, with her sharing, her wine with me, which allowed me to develop a palate. Outside of that, I didn't know much about wine before starting to work in the industry. Viticulture I've always found really interesting, but she really helped guide me to that path. And, I think that's another reason I hold it really near and dear, is because it allows me to remain connected. That's what wine's about. The stories behind this other small wineries and the wineries that you work for, and the Oregon wine industry story itself is so beautiful. But what we can all in the industry engage on is that wine brings experiences and brings people together. So that's a little bit. I can keep talking. I'm not bad at that.
How did you get to become Madam Ambassador?
Oh, Madam Ambassador. Goodness.
Right, well, yeah, so you got to be right? But you are a senior ambassador. And so, how does one become a winery ambassador?
Through developing many relationships and, making sure that those that enjoy the wines they've experienced with me continue to enjoy those, regardless of how far away they live from the winery. And in building that trust also again, reaching out to the industry and the collaboration amongst the industry. So, but yeah, I became a senior ambassador because I share a little wine with many of the people that I've met and made friends with among the last 11 years. So I've got a lot of folks I continue to stay in contact with. You know, it's interesting, especially during the really crazy circumstances we've all had. My phone calls that I make to, you know, make sure one has the wine in the cellar they need. I've noticed they've been a little longer each call. People, you know, they want to talk, and they've developed these relationships over the years, you know, and so I've kind of been able to keep up with what's going on and, you know, around the US at least, in all different states. So it's been kind of interesting hearing the different feedback about our circumstances. But, you know, year round, regardless of a pandemic or not, it's really cool to hear about what's going on where. And I am a mom of 3, technically. I have 2, and then I'm raising my sibling as well. And so finding time to travel, even amongst my own industry, can be challenging. So, you know, as I continue these relationships across the US, I'm filling out my list of where I'm going to be going to visit. So another few years, my youngest is 12. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to get out there on the road, and maybe I'll just be sharing wine on the road in the future. Who knows, you know?
Awesome. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about the education, and I thought what was interesting was Tony read one of your letters, and you had sent him different wines from specific AVAs. He called them AVAs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I abbreviated it.
Right. We try to have a little educational component here. Can you talk a little bit about AVAs for us? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
American viticulture areas. Speaking of the Willamette Valley itself, is a viticulture area, American viticulture area. Within the Willamette Valley, there are currently 6 different sub-AVAs, which really will demonstrate and pull through their own unique qualities that are going to pull through the fruit. And that's going to go from the slightly different elevation, extremely different soil types, what grew on that vineyard, what was there before that it became a vineyard, are all going to play a role in the development of the characteristics of the Pinot Noir. So even if you have a Pinot Noir, you know, one of my favorite clones is actually 777. You know, if you've got it in on one vineyard and, you know, 30 miles away in different soil types, you've got that 777 or the Pomard or the Badensville or any of the clones, you know, you're going to be able to experience differences even from the same winemaker kind of following the same routine when it comes to fermentation. And that's what makes it beautiful. And that's why it's important to mention it, is because there is a drastic difference, you know, Walla Walla as well. So, did I lose you guys?
You're good. You're back.
Okay. A little technology glitch, but that's okay.
Hey,
it's been stormy today. We had like an 85-degree day yesterday. Beautiful, sunny, get a tan, and today thunderstorm in the middle of the afternoon.
Welcome to Oregon in May. Yep, that's kind of how it works. You just flip a coin, and it's gonna, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But you know, you were mentioning this concept of distinctiveness, and I think that's kind of the big thing with all these AVAs. The process of getting approved for one of these AVAs is an arduous one. We have some kind of in a neighboring area up here, and I've had an opportunity to kind of pay attention to what that process is like. This is all certified by a federal agency, and there is a years-long process where you have to be able to document what is so unique about this particular area. It is in terms of, it can be, well, it's usually a combination of things, but it comes down to things like soil, temperature, just kind of climate, wind, you know, just anything that you can point out that makes that certain particular area distinctive from any other area that becomes worthy of adding this particular label, because branding with wine is such an important thing to be able to really center that idea of the place that the wine comes from. So when you see that on the label, you really have that sense. You know, of course, every individual winemaker does their thing, but you have that expectation going into it about what you're going to see.
Yep, absolutely. I'm completely agree with you. So, and it's also really important when it comes to protecting the Oregon wine industry, when it comes to labeling and proper labeling. And we don't have, that can be a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I won't get into like every little detail there. But it really does show that the unique qualities that we offer in the Oregon wine industry. And I can't tell you how many people over the years, come to Oregon for the first time to taste wine. They're kind of, we didn't even know you made wine, and they taste our Pinot Noirs and they're blown away. They say, this is not what I was expecting. I didn't know that Oregon was known for wine, let alone such high quality wine. So it's really, really wonderful to kind of give them the wow factor. And they're like, wait, Oregon wine, really? So again, we're still new, we're still young, we're still a small industry, but we got the wow and the mad.
And we talk a lot, and that's we have wonderful spokespeople, and when you have a great product that is so universally made. I mean, we talk all the time when people are here. You can get great wine from a bunch of different places in Oregon. I mean, we really are blessed with an embarrassment of riches in a lot of ways, where you can go to my neighbors down the street and you're going to get a wonderfully well-made wine. It's going to be very different from what I produce, and it's going to be very different from what Willamette Valley Vineyards produces. And that's kind of what makes this area such an amazing, it's why Sarah and I wanted to come here in the first place. We understood that we could achieve that balance of kind of forging our own path, but at the same time, being around people that could make wonderful product as well. And it's a very, as you said earlier, also Duska, very collaborative. When we moved here, we always got asked, how did the industry treat us as kind of outsiders, as people that moved from Ohio because they were insane and had this crazy dream. And the industry was wonderfully supportive of us. I think once they saw that we weren't walking in with egos the size of Manhattan, it was a much more natural fit. And that's really how they are. The experiences you're going to get by visiting our wineries are just going to be top notch, no matter what kind of experience you're looking for. So is it time to, we talk about the wine?
I think we talk about because I think people maybe don't understand. So being a senior winery ambassador does not mean necessarily that people can pop in and you will be in the tasting room, right? I mean,
no.
Not always.
You get booked up. No.
Right.
I'm very blessed with a lot of support from Willamette Valley Vineyards, especially balancing, work life, mom life, and then some. So I will be there upon reservation. So you can reach out to me directly. There are times you can pop in and ask for me and I might be available. But I try to keep myself really busy, whether it's furthering my education in wine or, maybe I'm at Bandon Dunes hosting a wine for dinner,
or whatever.
Orchestra down in Southern California, sharing our wines, wowing those people. They're like, wait, this came from Oregon, really? And I do that, of course, my objective is to make friends, to share these wines and to, retain friendships for future follow-up. But I'm representing Oregon as well, because a lot of people still don't know about our Golden Valley here. So as a senior winery ambassador, which, as far as the title is concerned, I mean, it's just that. I really enjoy and am blessed to make the friendships that I've made over the years. And I don't know what more to say about it other than the fact that I love hosting people. They pay me for this, which is crazy.
Right?
I really,
Yeah.
Right. I've always loved food as well. And I mean, food and wine come hand in hand. So, I definitely have got a good amount of recommendations for food pairings. I think that goes a long ways when it comes to sharing wine with someone, because they might not know what to do with it. And that's the thing about Pinot Noir, is that it's almost impossible to mispair Pinot Noir with a food. It's so food friendly. One of the most difficult wines, in my opinion, from my small experience, to produce in an elegant way. It's a lot of hard work to produce this Pinot Noir, but on the flip side, it's extremely easy to pair it. It's very adaptable.
Yeah. So that's a beautiful segue into the wine that you are graciously consuming of ours today. Yeah. The Candide, which is our reserve, one of our reserves. Yeah. It's a single vineyard. It's from Nemarniki Vineyard, Nemarniki, and it's two different types of Pinot Noir clones.
So let me take a minute to talk about Diane, because it is really, when people are here in the vineyard, I talk about kind of our strategies with our vineyard on the estate being very young. At this point, we've been reliant on other growers, although, we're going to gradually work out of that, but over time. But we work with some amazing growers, and Diane is one of them. And Diane is about the most meticulous individual I have ever met. And this is really great quality to have in your grower, because when you're as small as we are, I say all the time, there is nowhere to hide quality wines when you're only making 500 cases a year. You don't get to blend out a bad barrel. It's all got to be really good. And when you work with people that actually get on their own tractors and are walking their vineyard all the time, they are looking for things that are out of place, and they are going to fix what is out of place. What is amazing about Diane is her vineyard looks like one of those Disney topiary artists got a hold of it. I mean, it is just perfectly sculpted. And even though it's a vineyard that is only roughly 10 years old, when you get the flavors in the fruit that she produces, my God, you swear it's twice its age. And that's really what allows us to be able to make a wine like we're sharing right now. As Sarah was saying, the Candide is a blend of two clones or strains of Pinot Noir, which is, we can talk about a future one about what clones are, but just kind of think of them as subcategories. They're slightly different in terms of the Pinot, but they bring different elements to the party. My goal in creating this particular wine was to accentuate the spice that Pinot can give. So I'm going to kind of let Duska take over from here, because she's sort of I'm vested in all this. So I'm going to let Duska kind of talk about what she's tasting and kind of where she goes with it. But at least that's what I was shooting.
Dave is not impartial.
Pressure is on. All right. I was explaining to my teenager how to get the artichoke started. Sorry, you guys.
Oh, cool. we got to multitask. That's all right.
You're a mom.
I do. That's what I do.
Yeah, we appreciate you doing this on a Saturday. Thank you. Yeah. Seriously, we get it.
This is fun. Again, thank you for having me. I'm honored. All right. I'm
All
feeling
right.
the pressure is on now. I should have started drinking this wine a little while ago and really gotten intimate with it. I think becoming intimate with your wine is important. Also, if you guys are drinking Oregon Pinot Noir and you're not drinking out of an Oregon Pinot Noir glass, you guys know that these were originally called Oregon Pinot Noir glasses, right? Do you guys know that?
We do that.
So
probably people didn't. And can you also verify that you can indeed fit an entire 750 milliliter bottle into one of these?
Yes, you absolutely can. Of course, it's fun for wow factor. Kind of then loses why this glass is so special. But yes, you can literally fit an entire bottle of wine in here.
Not that you should, but you can. It's a great parlor trick.
Yeah, it's a fun fact.
Right?
But the bouquet of a wine is so important when it comes to the taste as well. And although the bouquet and the taste can have very opposite features, it's also very important. So I always, whenever I'm experiencing a new wine, and I am just becoming familiar with your guys' wines, you were so wonderful to host me for a tasting on the first day we were allowed. So that was awesome. But I always start off with smelling the wine. If you smell the wine with your mouth open, you actually get a little more aromatics coming in, and you can almost taste it. You can literally taste it on your palate too. So for any of you that aren't drinking for, whatever particular reason right now, diet restrictions, health, what have you. Another way to taste the wine is to smell it with your mouth open. But I definitely get, it's just so, I can't stop smelling it. You guys I'm going to be forever just smelling this Pinot Noir. It's very rich in the bouquet. When it comes to the flavor profiles, it's so smooth from the beginning. I do get a little bit of dark cherry coming from it. Very fruit forward, very smooth. I should have opened the bottle sooner and done my homework. It's extremely well balanced. There's nothing, especially for this being a 2017 Pinot Noir, it's drinking really, really nicely. I'm trying to figure out what else I'm picking up. And forgive me with all of our weather ups and downs right now.
Yeah, allergies.
Allergies. Yeah. I know, I'm like pale.
Oh, the allergies here have been so bad. Yeah.
But at least we don't have a global pandemic that manifests as a respiratory disease to cause us not at all.
I'm like trying not to clear my throat while we're on this. Really. I'm almost getting a little bit of raspberry too, but like a dark, very, very ripe raspberry. Mm-hmm. I'm all about the berries right now.
Yeah. Well, it is berry season in Oregon. We're getting more strawberries now, so.
There's nothing like an Oregon strawberry.
Oh, yeah. Right? Oh my God. Yummy.
Which really, when you come down to it, yummy is really the best descriptor.
Yeah, right. That's all we really want.
We bring in professionals like Duska to kind of talk about, the more technical stuff. But, there's a reason that we don't write our own tasting notes. We're really bad at descriptors. Which it's funny.
Don't say that you're bad. It's all about like.
Oh no, I'm terrible. It's okay.
Taste.
But it's a funny thing. I actually think this benefits me as a winemaker to not have like the most discerning of palates, because if you're trying to make wines that have these very distinct differences, and you're going to have a lineup with a lot of diversity. Even people that don't have great palates can still tell what a well-made wine tastes like. Even if it's not necessarily your jam, you can taste a well-made wine and get that sense of it. But not being able to be so technical on my part means that I'm not trying to overthink it. And I can kind of make it something that I think like the majority of our customers are really going to be able to, that's going to be their experiences too.
Yeah. Well, and in my opinion, when you get too wordy with tasting notes, I think they're good to have as a reference, but when you get too wordy with it, then the consumer, like myself, will, pardon me, I promise I'm not sick.
I know.
It can get a little overwhelming because it's like, well, wait, I didn't taste that. Am I doing it wrong? There's no wrong way to drink wine. Absolutely no wrong way. So when it comes down to it, I try to hold back my tasting notes and gather from others, like, what are you experiencing, and kind of playing off of that, like we did when we initially set up my stop by. I thought I was going to be stopping by for, to pick up wine initially, because you weren't allowed to do a tasting, and then just so happens the day we had planned for me to stop by and just do a curbside pickup, you happened to be open. You were so gracious to offer to do a tasting for me. And I think I was there for 3 hours. It was a while.
Well, when we like people, we like to hang out with great people. And that's kind of the thing. When you were talking about, in your role, it's about building relationships, and that's what is important for you. And it's, in a lot of ways, it is no different for us. But there's a reason that we're by appointment, and we only do one group at a time. We're trying to build relationships with everybody that comes in here. And, the easiest wine sales you will ever make are to people that know you and are comfortable with you and know what you do. And you can spend a lot more time kind of chatting about just life, and you don't have to worry so much about talking about the wines. They get to speak for themselves. which is kind of another been great thing about this Mr. Tony experience is that all the littles that we've had, and the number of people that are still emailing us, I am agog at how many folks we have already sent wine to and are still working on. But everybody has been so wonderfully nice and warm and friendly. And it's just the community, he always talks on his podcast about, about the thread of the show and the reach that it gets. And it's just people that kind of have that same sort of look on life and feel, and they're supportive of one another. And like I said, everybody we've talked to has just been a joy.
It's like the Oregon wine industry, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think someone else did a little write-up about our, entire experience that we had. And, I have to agree, now that I am a loyal listener, I love the sense of community when it comes to the podcast. Talking about real things and kind of some quirky things like, the not wanting to go through drive-throughs or the, and I actually was really relating to that when it comes to the banking and not wanting to do, take pictures of your checks. And I actually am in the generation that's supposed to be comfortable with that. And I'm not, I'm pretty old school when that really was relating, and to then hear, real talk about, that's good, babe. All right, our checks are on. Then, to have real talk about what's going on in the communities, how things are impacting us. And I had actually written him in one of my other emails because my son plays sports. He's very athletic. He's always been athletic, and how important it is for community. And I think he had mentioned something about, I don't want to call sports essential, but then they really are, to be able to give our youth direction. Sports bring people together like wine does. And for our youth that are missing out on something that they've been doing their whole lives, has been really difficult. So it keeps kids focused, it keeps them skill building, it keeps them motivated, it helps build the sense of community, it helps build, camaraderie and team building. So skills that they'll take on for life. So I really, really enjoy all of those aspects of the show as well. And I think we should do a wine talk. Someone I think it was Nigel slightly mentioned that. So come on.
I mean, I'd be happy to do it, and we can make it as tangentially related about wine as he makes it tangentially related about sports. I mean, that's fine, And yeah, it is funny. It's, some people are just able to be storytellers, and that is his greatest gift is his storytelling. And, it's a lot of what we do too, obviously, both of us. I mean, we tell stories about what we do, and we as humans are, I think, conditioned to be storytellers and to be enthralled by storytellers. And, he's been doing that for a long, long time, back when he was writing his columns for the Washington Post. And, in that same tradition, I think we obviously tell different stories, but it's the same concept.
Yeah.
What I said was the most important thing that came out of this is that we made a great new friend in the wine industry. And that's you.
Yes.
I agree. Feelings mutual. And the more I sip this, the more I want salmon. I think salmon would be just
salmon. Okay.
That works. Really nice pairing for this. I think on the rainy day, but maybe I've been trying to eat a little healthier as well. But I feel like it's so smooth. Like I said, Pinot Noir, in my opinion, it's really hard to mispair. But as I am sipping on this, just so much of the ripeness of the fruit that I'm getting, and it's extremely smooth. I mean, this is versatile. I think you could pair it with fish easily. Maybe I'm just craving salmon right now. But I wouldn't be mad to pair it with a really delicious local burger,
Right.
Free range cows.
Of course.
We always have leftovers.
The life of the wine industry. Right? It is, people think, it is so glamorous, yep, it's a lot of leftovers.
Yeah, it's a lot of leftovers. Leftover wine, leftover food.
Oh, there is no such, there should not be any such thing as leftover wine.
No, exactly. Exactly.
What's left over in the tasting room usually makes it to the house. So anyway.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Well, Madam Ambassador, thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you so much.
We'll do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'd love to. And and so again, for all of you littles at Tony Kornheiser Show, thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for, and we're here for you for your wine needs. So is Duska. I can't get this thing. Yeah, this isn't great.
It's a weird name. So maybe that's what I haven't heard from like very many people. It's hard to hear my name.
How did you like that beautiful name? It's really
thank you. How did I get it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you were named that by your parents, but where did they? Is this a family name or is it?
My mom knew someone by the name. Is the short version. The longer story is like 2 bottles of wine.
Okay. Next time.
Yes, absolutely. But if anyone is interested in experiencing some Willamette Valley Vineyards wines, if they reach out to the winery directly, just ask for me, mention Tony Kornheiser Show, mention Bells Up Winery, and they'll get you connected with me directly. So it's been a pleasure, and I will see you guys in person soon because I need some more of that rosé, or should I say brosé? I don't know, I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Don't have to put your man card to have a rosé. Exactly.
No.
Well, the case I picked up from you is almost gone. So I'll have to see you guys again soon.
Well, we're here for you, Duska. We can make it happen.
All right.
Thank you so much. And everybody have a great night. Cheers. We will hope to talk to you all very soon. Thank you again.
Bye, Duska. Have a good
Bye.
night again.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Oh.